Hi everybody and welcome back to Leela Gaming. I used to be Leela and now I'm Rob. First off, apologies for my absence after finally coming back with an upload schedule in mind. I got sick and I lost my voice for 2 months. Now that the voice is kind of back, let's jump right back in. So the other day I was on my Oculus Quest 2 and looking through the free browser games within the Oculus browser. This listed several games that were browser-based but had a VR option, so I played around with some of them until I stumbled across Moonrider. Moonrider is a rhythm game and I love rhythm games, so of course I had to try that. I will mention at this point that this video is not sponsored, but simply a review from somebody who played the game and has something to say. So I started this game and right away noticed that the mode I was playing was very similar to Beatsaber. I played a few songs and then moved on to the other mode that seemed very similar to Synth Riders. And so this is how the idea for this video was born and I started recording the footage. Now let's get into the comparison, and at this point I will issue a trigger warning for musicians. My lovely musician friends, there will be a lot of offbeat and off-rhythm, unmusically footage. This is not a recording or lagging issue, this is literally how it was in the game. So looking first at the starting screen of Moonrider, you can see it has a very slick and polished look. You have a search, difficulties, a list of songs and other menus. To the left you can choose your game mode and to the right you will have a high score list. The classic mode is what we will look at first, and stay for the end to see a direct comparison for the same song between classic mode on Moonrider and Beatsaber. On classic mode, instead of blocks, there are little arrows telling you which way to slice. The path in front of you is moving around and making it seem like you are floating along a path rather than the blocks coming towards you. This is actually similar to how Synth Rider does it, but you will see that in the Synth Rider footage later. Now, going a bit into the nitty-gritty of gaming, the hitbox of those arrows and sabers seem to sometimes not work very well and sometimes be completely off. And this results in generally well-timed arrows, but if you hit them when they get to you, it is annoyingly offbeat. Maybe the path moves a bit slow or the hitboxes were started just a little bit off for them to match the music. Other songs work perfectly, and sometimes it even varies inside of one song, that there are parts that go perfectly and parts that are completely off. Something that I also noticed is the type of motion you do matters a lot. If you move intuitively wielding the sabers and hitting them with any type of motion like from the wrist or with a wider angle, it will frequently miss. If you hit them with your arms being sticks and your saber staying horizontal, simply then horizontally slicing in any direction, it will hit well. On Beatsaber that is absolutely no problem, and each of those motion types will hit fine there as long as you are on time. And that was not the case in Moonrider, so that was a really big flaw, probably the biggest one that I've found with Moonrider on this game mode. At times I was wondering if there is maybe an issue with the sound effect of the slice, because it seemed that especially on faster songs or combinations, the sound effects would be delayed or dropped even when the arrows were hit and the points were counted. Those two things, so the timing and the hit sounds, might be something to look into for the developers of the game. That said, there is a large amount of songs and you can find some that are mapped better and just stick to those. The other mode is punch mode, where you have no sabers and instead you have fists. Little X shapes come up and you need to punch them. This is similar to the concept of Synth Riders. In punch mode you can either just hold your fist into where the X will be, so you touch it for a lower point score, or you can properly punch them for a higher point score. The harder you hit, the more of a light effect you will get from the punch. I also felt like the timing of the hitboxes worked a lot better in punch mode. I am not sure why that is, because you can punch these shapes in any direction as well. but I suppose there are less calculations between a small point that is the fist versus a line of points that are the sabers. I am no coder, but I could see there being a challenge to work out hitboxes and timing well. Back to punch mode though, I did have a lot of fun with that one actually, in some regards more than Synth Riders, to be fair. I liked the music a lot and enjoyed the environment more than the ones on Synth Rider. However, Moonrider punch mode is a lot less complex than Synth Riders. Synth Riders gives you dot combinations and it also gives you interesting paths to follow and works this into combinations that are challenging. Another thing that Synth Rider does a lot and Moonrider doesn't do a lot or at all are the combos with two hands or a hand of choice. This adds complexity on Synth Riders that keeps you focused. So while Moonrider is fun, I found myself spacing out a lot and dropped it eventually. The last mode on Moonrider is Ride mode, and this is comparable to Zen mode on Beatsaber, where you will see the lights show but no boxes or obstacles come your way. So on Moonrider you will see little tiny dots where the arrows would be, but it's very peaceful and you have nothing to hit, just enjoy the ride really. My overall impression of Moonrider is that considering that this is a browser-based game serving through a VR browser with a VR mode, it's really smooth and fun. Of course it has a few kinks to iron out, but overall it really isn't too bad. I'm loving the large selection of songs especially. I think the biggest selling point here is the fact that it is for free, so if you bought yourself a VR headset from your Christmas bonus or your birthday money, etc., you might not have the money right now to also buy games on top of that. So if you are interested in Beatsaber or Synth Rider, but you can't afford it right now, then Moonrider is definitely a good alternative until you can afford the games on the Oculus App Store. But if you can afford the games Beatsaber or Synth Rider or both, I would recommend getting those, because overall they just work better. And now, as promised, here's the side-by-side of the same song on both games, both played by me. Enjoy the cringe and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified when I upload a new video. I'm fired up and tired of the way that things have been. Oh, ooh, the way that things have been. Oh, ooh. Second, don't you tell me what you think that I can be. I'm the one at the sail, I'm the master of my sea. Oh, ooh, the master of my sea. Oh, ooh. I was broken from a young age, taking my soak into the masses, writing my poems for the few that look at me, took to me, shook at me, feeling me, singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the... You made me a believer, believer. You break me down, you build me a believer, believer. Hey, let the bullets fly, let them rain. My life, my love, my drive, it came from. Hey, you made me a believer, believer. Third things turns and up above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove. Oh, ooh, your spirit up above. Oh, ooh. I was choking in the crowd, building my rain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings they would drown, but they never did. Ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up when it rained down. It rained